Hello everybody. Welcome to today's video. Today we're going to be talking about how you can better navigate emotions as a man. And I'd like to start us off with a great quote from the Stoic philosopher Epictetus. It's not the things that upset us, but our judgment about those things. This quote seriously helped me with my emotional regulation. I know that with men this can be a common problem because really, when's the last time you have considered your emotions? I know that this can be uncomfortable because many of us were raised not to display emotions because showing emotion isn't manly, right? And then we have, on the other hand, the new trend from society, which is that men should be emotional and men should cry. And personally, I think both of these things are wrong. I understand one is a counter to another. They're both trying to have good intentions, but I think that they're wrong, and with both main narratives of how we should handle our emotions being wrong, that really leaves us with the question of where do we go? And at the time of making this video, my emotional regulation is at an all-time high, and my ability to regulate, to utilize emotions is the best it's ever been, but it took me years to get here. Unless you had an extremely stable upbringing from your young life, the chances are you probably have a little bit of issues with emotional regulation, and that's okay. It's certainly where I found myself. I used to be really, really angry, and honestly, I still am. I'm not gonna lie, it didn't just go away. The difference now is my awareness and my self-control. I like to think of Hulk, if you've ever seen the first Avengers movie, where he finally learns how to, he says, I'm always angry, and he's able to turn into Hulk on command, which is utilizing his anger rather than just randomly losing his shit all the time and just ruining everything, right? That really resonated with me. I felt a connection to that because I've done some things like that in my life, obviously, figuratively. Previously, I didn't really know what I felt. I was angry. And overall, my anger showed up in everything. It was relationships, learning new things, competition. I was my own worst enemy in a lot of ways. I honestly can't tell you how many video games and sport competitions I fucked over for myself because I just got in my head and I would lose or perform worse just because I got angry. And the same could be said for my relationships. I ruined some good relationships because I just wasn't emotionally mature enough to properly communicate and address what I was feeling in a healthy way. And I wasn't only angry at others either, I was mainly angry at myself. Sometimes I would get frustrated from something someone else would say, but most times I would just degrade myself for making a mistake because you know, I I don't know, I felt inadequate because of it, right? Both of these things were throwing me off my game, and they were preventing me from being present, which was preventing me from entering a flow state. Luckily, I made enough big mistakes early on to realize that I had a problem I needed to address. Honestly, the most recent one that really accelerated the emotional maturity was my last relationship. I love this girl, and I dropped the ball. I made excuses. I didn't regulate my emotions healthily, and I let it slip. So that really, looking back on it, I'm thankful, right? I am where I am now, mostly because of that. It really pushed me towards, all right, I need to figure my shit out because I'm clearly not where I thought I was. And I've grown a lot because of it. So how did I get here? I acknowledged that I had a problem and I started focused learning. And that's why in today's video, I'm going to be providing y'all with information that help me understand emotions, how they were negatively affecting me, and the practical steps that I took to better regulate my emotions. I think you'll find it very useful. And to begin with, we want to understand what are emotions. Knowledge is power, and personally, I think that anytime we're able to understand something, how it works, why it works, we're able to build some separation from it and have a little bit more power over it because we understand it, right? So you could probably just learn the techniques, but I feel like you would fail, right, with just techniques alone. I think it's really important. So, according to verywellmind.com, emotions are reactions that human beings experience in response to events or situations. Pretty simple, right? I think we all know the basic definition of emotions, but it does get deeper, and here it is. Bear with me here. The emotionally circuitry of our brains lies in the limbic system, and there are two important things in play here. One is neurotransmitters. It's just chemicals that are produced in neurons for our brain and our nervous system. And then the second thing is hormones, which is chemical messengers, and our endocrine system, which is for the bloodstream. The exact science of these things isn't super important. We don't need to get too far into that. But my point of explaining them is that emotions are kind of out of our control, right? Our bodies are trying to naturally push us towards survival and reproduction. And while we can influence them, we can choose which ones to indulge. We can't necessarily choose how we feel, just how we react to them. And I feel that this helps us build the separation between us and our emotions, which is super important. Another topic I would like to cover is masculinity versus femininity. I think it's really important to distinguish between the two here. Um, if you're not a masculine man, that's fine, but I do think that kind of blurs the line of how we're supposed to handle our emotions and everything, right? Think that being masculine comes with its own types of expectations. Traditionally, men are masculine, and I think it's important to focus on that. So, masculinity, traditionally, it's associated with things like strength, assertiveness, and independence. It often emphasizes things like leadership, competition, emotional resilience, and the typical role of a masculine person is to protect, to provide, and to make decisions. Now, on the other hand, with femininity, femininity traditionally encompasses things like sensitivity, nurturing, and emotional expressiveness. It often includes traits like compassion, cooperation, and caring for others. And the traditional role is nurturing, taking care of things and people, and supporting people. If masculine men are expected to provide and make decisions, we got to be emotionally regulated, or else we're going to let our emotions just get in our way and throw us off our game. We won't make the right decisions. So, our mind can be our greatest friend or it can be our worst enemy. I want to talk a little bit about men's specific challenges with emotions. Again, I talked about we're typically raised to suppress our emotions, and I think that there is validity there, like there's good intentions there, but I don't think that it's necessarily healthy because it can lead to us feeling lost and unable to form healthy relationships because we're not allowed to express what we feel, right? We're bottling it up. But and also it can lead to a couple other problems like avoiding addressing emotional problems, externalizing problems through things like aggression and substance abuse, lingering mental health issues like unidentified depression, and also it can cause us to have to juggle expectations. We don't know how we should feel versus how we actually feel, and it just creates conflict, right? And then the other alternative method is men should cry and men should be emotional. I think this is completely wrong. Unless we're suffering something extreme like a loss of life, I think we need to learn how to healthily express our emotions and keep our composure. Even in the instance of suffering a loss of life, like it is understandable if you cry, but imagine being that man that people can look to for the strength, right? Because you have to be strong in that moment. I think Jordan Peterson talks about that. You need to be the man that can put the funeral into order, get everything situated, right? You have to be strong. Nothing wrong with crying there, but I think that overexpressing emotions can be off-putting and lead to hyper-focusing on our emotions rather than just taking action and handling business. A couple other problems could be lack of composure, lack of direction, diminished masculinity, and unnecessary stress. So what do we do, man? I think that the commonly proposed methods of dealing with our emotions have failed us from our upbringing, from society, and I think that the Stoic philosophy of handling emotions is probably the best alternative. You're frequently going to feel things like negative emotions that are going to push you away from your goal towards more destructive things, and then you'll have the good ones, right? They push you towards healthy relationships like joy, connectivity, those kinds of things. And if you don't have control over the unhelpful emotions and even the good emotions, you're gonna sabotage yourself before you even begun to take action. Stoics recognize that emotions can be destructive, and that's why we have to manage them. We don't want to overindulge in them, and we also don't want to suppress them and act like they don't exist. I think that Stoics, they also believe in prohereses. I hope I said that right, but it's essentially just the power of choice. Focusing on external things is pointless, right? We really don't have a lot of power over them, and it's hard enough just to control our own internal states. So this concept is about choosing to feel a certain way rather than letting our emotions choose for us. So for example, if someone made a disrespectful comment to you, typical reactions is going to be defensive, to be aggressive, maybe even to step up and challenge them, right? But with this Stoic philosophy of prohereses, we want to choose the rational thing. We don't want to lose sight of reality because we're emotional. Reality is we could go to jail, we could get hurt. Certain things don't need to happen, right? We need to keep our composure and we need to realize that words are just words, right? And if we're reacting to them, we might even be giving validity to them. So it's better to just laugh it off or just not even acknowledge it, right? Is it really worth our time? So now that we went over that, I would like to start talking about the practices for improving your emotional regulation because we need to start training and facilitating our minds to properly regulate emotions. The following things that I suggest I think greatly help with that. And let's start with education. So today I'm providing you with a good amount of information as a starting point, right, to get you in the right direction. But there's so much more you can learn, and I'm about to put you on to some great stuff to do just that. I'd like to start with books. This isn't a new problem. People have been dealing with emotions, emotional regulation forever. Couple books I recommend, three. One is Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. If you don't know, he was a great Stoic philosopher. He was the king of, I believe, Rome or Greek. And anyways, he's literally an emperor. This book is just his diary daily of how he's dealing with emotions, how he's being diplomatic with it, and how he's being strategic rather than letting them control him. Great book, great book. It's also free online. Another one is The Way of the Superior Man by David Data. He talks a lot more about emotions, specifically through masculinity and femininity. He breaks them both down. A great read. And the final one is A Path Through the Jungle by Stephen Peters. He breaks down the mind into components and what each component does. It really helps you build separation from your thoughts and your feelings and recognize why you might be doing certain things and how you can start to work on it. The next thing would be lectures. There's loads of free lectures specifically about emotions, emotional regulation. I know they're on YouTube, probably elsewhere, Spotify. I highly recommend Jordan Peterson, Jocko Willink, and Andrew Huberman. That's a great, well rounded group of men that can really help you work on your emotional regulation. Another thing is therapy can help you provide great insights onto why you're doing things and then also give you practices for how to stop doing those things or how to fix them. And if you can't afford it, there's plenty of free content on YouTube that can at least get you going in a better direction. And the final thing for education is you want to increase your emotional vocab. So there's a great quote I heard, which is name it to tame it. It's really important to know what you're feeling accurately so you can address it correctly. Oftentimes we have really limited vocabularies and we don't know exactly what we're feeling. So we might be feeling anger, but sometimes it's hard to directly address anger, right? Like we can go punch a fucking punching bag, but it's still going to be there. We want to know like, okay, what is this anger? Is it shame? Is it jealousy? Is it comparison, inadequacy? One of those things, and we can more accurately pick a better route to deal with that, right? The next thing we want to know is mindfulness and meditation. These are crucial to practice because you want to begin separating yourself from your thoughts and your emotions. So, a couple things I recommend are one, journaling. You could just journal about really anything, right? A lot of emotions are going to pop up, but you can specifically journal about maybe there was a situation where you kept your composure, what went down? Maybe there was a situation where you didn't keep your composure, what went down? Start to break those things down and it'll start to bring more awareness to all situations. Another thing is 10 minutes a day of meditation. This helps you learn not to just react to your thoughts and especially your feelings of wanting to move because you don't want to sit still for 10 minutes. It's great, highly recommend it. The next thing would be breathing exercises, and this greatly helps you maintain your composure in moments of emotion because we can't just tell our brain, hey, calm down, there's nothing wrong. Our brain is trying to keep us safe, the fight, flight, or freeze, right? So the only way we can tell it to calm down is naturally showing it that there's no threat. So that would be just by being calm. And a great way to do that is breathing. So just start practicing breathing deeply and make sure you're breathing through your nose whenever possible. And the final thing I'm going to recommend for y'all is we want to exercise. Hit the gym, bro. And whether you're a man or you're a woman, Having this pent up energy can lead to things like aggressiveness, agitation, and emotional reactivity. Releasing this pent up energy is great for your ability to emotionally regulate it. Unless you overdo it and you kill yourself in the gym, you might be a little pissed off when you get home. But we want to avoid that, and I recommend 4 to 5 days a week of weight training. You don't need to go in there and kill yourself. Just, I'd say a minimum of 45 minutes. Even if you don't have a lot of time, just 30 minutes, right? Just get in there, start hitting some weights. Also, taking walks, that's great for mental health in general. Also, good exercise. Cardio 3 days a week, jogging, running, doing elliptical or one of the cardio machines in the gym. Those are awesome. And the final thing would be sauna, steam rooms, or natural tanning. We're getting used to being uncomfortable in the driver's seat from the heat, kind of similar to meditation, right? But you're resisting that urge to, like it's so hot, I need to move. And overall, today, I talked about what emotions are, and I gave y'all some great practices to begin getting better at your emotional regulation. The important thing here is to remember, like, you're watching these videos, you're here because you want to make the difference. It all comes down to you. Start practicing the things that you're learning, right? Don't just sit here and watch YouTube videos and think that your life's going to change. You have to start practicing. And honestly, if you did half of what I told you today, you definitely start seeing some progress. Be consistent. Remember why you're doing this. You're doing it for yourself. You want to be better. You want to have better relationships, better success in your life. I believe in you. I know y'all can do it. If my angry ass did it, y'all can definitely do it. But if you have any questions, any comments about the things that you learned today, definitely let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear from y'all. And if you haven't checked out the blog yet, if you want to read some more, go check out the blog. I'll leave a link in the description. And thanks for checking in today and hanging out with me while I provide y'all some information. I hope you found it to be greatly insightful and useful. And best of luck to you in your journey for learning how to emotionally regulate. I appreciate y'all popping in today, and I'll see you in the next one.